Think I remember it now? That's you with building the video game? Do I take more time to make this better, or do I just get it done with? Yeah.
I never wanted this. I only turned this world into paradise to make it bearable. And then you arrived and made me blossom.
Please, just let me go.
If you truly wanted to leave, you'd have already done it. Or have you forgotten? I wonder if Aphrodite would still love you if she knew what a coward you were.
What's the other way he can leave? Stab himself?
Not having second thoughts, are you?
She's right. I am a coward. She gave me the chance to leave once.
Oh,
All I
okay.
had to do was fight, and I couldn't. I'm sorry, I can't do this. It's too big.
I love the line delivery there. It's too big. Aphrodite, fight for the people. Fight for me. I bet he's a tier 3 Twitch sub. Fight for the people.
Adonis, close your eyes and imagine all the people fighting by your side. They believe in you. I believe in you. Don't let Persephone make you forget why you're fighting.
You're right. It's Persephone's greatest talent, making us forget the ones we love.
Keeps people from wanting to leave.
Let's remind them, shall we? At the base of the palace of the Colosseum, you'll find one of Hermes' inventions, stolen from his workshop. It's said to destroy everything it touches.
What are we destroying?
Atop the palace is where Persephone keeps her sleeping Colosseum. Bring the device there and make sure they never wake again. The smoke will let every rebel camp in Elysium know the time to strike is now.
What are we waiting for?
Try not to kill anyone. Success without detection and death is sure to convert more non-believers to our cause.
We'll see how that goes. Try not to kill or get spotted by any guards or colossi. Alright, well, we'll see how well that goes for me. I think when I really try hard to stealth, I can stealth well. I was able to last stream. So, I mean, we'll see here. And yep, indeedly do there. What else was I gonna mention? Oh, yeah. One, interesting thing that I've heard about, like, the YouTube sphere recently, that I believe I learned about from a video by the Spiffing Brit, was that apparently one of the big metas on YouTube nowadays is just having, like, super duper long videos to appeal to, like, sleeping viewers that just, like, fall asleep on their mobile device while watching YouTube, and then stuff just autoplays, and then they watch your video for a super long time, and you get a whole bunch of monies and stuff, and then get recommended your content a whole bunch in the future. Or people that just, like, want videos as, like, background noise or something like that. And apparently there are some creators that'll do, like, a whole playthrough or a whole series, and then will combine them all at the end into one big The Movie video or something like that, or complete series video. And then that singular video will get, like, more views than each of the individual parts combined. And it's like, what? Really? But with this Scarlet and Violet DLC essay, like, I will publish it on its own. Like, the Scarlet and Violet DLC essay has already been on its own for a while, and, like, they are clearly meant to be standalone videos. But, in, like, a few weeks or a month's time, I might just randomly create them as one video as well and upload that on its own just as a test and just see what happens and see if it somehow ends up getting more attention than the individual videos where it's like the complete video essay of Scarlet and Violet. That's like a 10.5-hour video. All in all, with those two combined, a little bit over 10.5 hours it would be. So I kind of want to try it just as an experiment, just to see what happens. Where people see on YouTube, whoa, there's a 10-hour video 10.5-hour video analysis on Scarlet and Violet. That's crazy. Totally gotta click that. I mean, you'd think that would already happen with like the 7-hour one. Like, anyone who would think that with 10.5 hours would probably already think that with 7 hours, but, like, still, like, maybe 10 plus would just, like, really stand out. And I don't know. And maybe the YouTube algorithm would just like it more. Out of my Pokemon video essays, the Scarlet and Violet one, despite being the longest, has definitely gotten, like, the least amount of views. So I don't know if doing a 10.5-hour video essay will make any difference. But basically no extra effort to me. I may as well try it just as an experiment. Just to see what happens. And if it does end up, like, going crazy, it would be extremely funny. And it would help me invest for a future house. Here, let's see here. So, but yeah, stealth in Assassin's Creed game, no way. Yeah, how does that work? That certainly doesn't happen. So anyway, that was a thought that I had now that this video project is nearly wrapped up. I'll wrap it up, I'll get it out there, and then sometime when I can be bothered later, I'll make a video of it with the main game video and just put it out there and see what happens, purely as an experiment. Because apparently that's what some people like nowadays, is rather than watching the individual things, just watching it all as one collective thing. And I have had some comments on some of my video essays before being like, why don't you just do all these individual chapters as their own videos? Like, this is way too long to watch. And the answer is I have tried doing that before. I did that with the Rescue Team DX and Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Editions video essays. And I don't think that many people know that those exist. So I have tried. And it didn't really work. So that's usually my response to people that comment like that, saying, I have done that before, but that's not the video that you clicked. The video that you clicked was the one that has it all as one collective thing. So I've tried, it hasn't worked. I don't really try anymore. And maybe I just need to take that to like the next level here. They're not gonna hear that, right? Okay. I thought for sure they'd hear that. And that would be the challenge, is they start immediately coming over. But yeah, maybe that's a trick, is just combine as much stuff into one as possible.
Something's in the way.
If only I actually had like a dedicated video essay on Let's Go and not Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, Sword and Shield. If only I had like a dedicated standalone video for each of those games, then I could have just combined all my Pokemon video essays into one video and just see what happens. As an experiment. Be careful though, if you make it into one thing, it might be picked up by Twitter and you'll become the next Twitter lolcow, like the guy who made a 12-hour video on Ryuji Persona 5. That's amazing. Massive respect to whoever that was, honestly. But I mean, I'm pretty sure people have made like mega long video essays on Pokemon and gotten like a lot of respect for it. Wasn't there like a 10+ hour Sword and Shield video? Or was it an 8+ hour video someone made on Sword and Shield that became like an internet hero thereafter? Or something like that? I don't remember. This was years ago at this point. Which in internet years is like 50 centuries ago. Twitter really hates long-form content. Yeah, obviously, it's Twitter. And anything over an hour is unhinged in their eyes. I mean, I do get a fair amount of comments on some of my video essays that are like, what, it's a couple hours long? That just goes to show that you really can't condense your points, and you must just ramble on and on about like the same thing over and over again. And I'm just like, have you watched the video? Have you maybe seen it? Because then you know that that's not the case. Okay, boop-de-bop. There was one chapter in the BDSP essay where I ended up repeating myself a decent bit. I believe that was chapter 2, which was like the whole data situation with the day 1 patch and all that. Because there were some ideas that I tried to express in my first Pokemon video essay, how Pokemon lost its magic, that a lot of people didn't really seem to get. I tried to classify Pokemon's magic as the interactability and customizability that made the series snowball into what it is today. Like, it was doing unique things that no other RPG was doing at the time. Those were the things that I felt like were Pokemon's magic. It's a variable term that I use to mean that, and how Pokemon has lost that over the years. But still to this day, I get comments that are like, oh, it hasn't lost its magic, you just grew up. It's still magical for kids. It's like, you are arguing something completely different than, you just made your own definition and refuted me on that, assuming that that's my definition. Like, you just strawmanned me to the extreme. Like, you have no idea what I even said. So, and that could also just be people reading, like, the thumbnail and title and, like, making an assumption rather than watching the video. But I assumed for a little while that my point that I was trying to make about it just wasn't expressed enough in the video. So the really big thing that I wanted to drive home in the BDSP essay, like the biggest issue I found with the game, was the whole day 1 patch and cartridge size situation, especially because no one was talking about it. So in chapter 2, like a whole dedicated chapter about it, I really tried to drive it home And I know I repeated myself a lot there. And I still get comments to this day on that video where people assume that that's going to be the content of the entire video. Where, like, I just got a comment like a week ago where it's like, oh my god, this guy repeats himself so fucking much. Like, dear god, does he ever repeat himself? And, like, it's... So, one way clearly wasn't the way to go, and the other extreme clearly wasn't the way to go. And I feel like nowadays I found a good middle ground. But the thing about the online sphere is anything that you've posted like any time in the past, it may as well always be the present, and you're always going to continue to be judged as if that is like your present self. And that one, I know it's just that one chapter of the video that I repeat myself a lot. Chapter 2. The one with the whole data sizes and the day 1 patch and all that. I know that's the chapter in question, but a lot of people assume that that's what the entire video is going to be like, make an assumption based off of that, and don't bother to see that that video was posted, what, like 3 or 4 years ago, something like that now? My goodness, time flies. And just assume that that's like the way my content is. Like, no, that was one video, and I acknowledge that that was a mistake, but... like, it kind of sucks. Anyway, that's a little bit unrelated, but the whole repeating oneself and people assuming that that's the way that you are by you having long-form content. That was just a little side tangent off of that. Something that I've been feeling here lately. And I do acknowledge that there have existed some videos where I do repeat myself too much. Chapter 2 of the BDSP essay. If I was ever to redo that video, I would completely change how that chapter is formatted. Like, I acknowledge that I completely screwed it up. I guess I just have to go through there. But man, it sucks to still, like, I still have people giving me crap for that to this day, when I have remedied my mistake in every video essay I've made since. But nope, this one video that I made several years ago is going to reflect my entire content and brand and what kind of stuff I make. Like, oh, I repeat myself a decent bit in this one chapter of one video from 3 years ago. That means this guy repeats himself too much. Like, man, he sucks, man. So, it's just a little bit mildly frustrating there. Man, if Twitter comes after you for something, you know you've done something right. Yeah, yeah. That be the case. And even now, multiplayer JRPGs are almost non-existent. Yeah, it's not a very big thing at all. Like, the only other JRPGs think of that are multiplayer focused are like Dragon Quest IX, Final Fantasy IV, Heroes of Light, and those are both DS games. Yeah, it's not something that you see a whole lot in the mainstream here nowadays. Unless we're talking about the highly acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV. With a free trial and whatever else is in that shitpost there. Repeat myself so much too, though. What's your fucking problem? They say that you're the one that's annoying, but what's worse is them being assholes. Yeah, but a lot of people that are gonna be repeating the same ideas don't really look into comments to see if anybody's made that comment before. Like, a comment type that I still continue to get on my first Pokemon essay to this day is the correction that Pokemon Home doesn't delete your Pokemon. And it's like, yes, I've known that since like 2 weeks after the video was published. People corrected me on that very soon after. It's been updated in the pinned comment for years, there for anyone to check, like, any corrections that I made. I have remedied that. I've corrected myself on that. On literally every Pokemon video essay I've made since. But I still, to this day, get comments of people that assume that out of 1 million plus people that have watched the video, assume that they're the very first person that's brought that to my attention. Like, that video was published, what, like 3 or 4 years ago? I just got a comment last week, honestly, where someone was like, oh, like, I just noticed a little discrepancy with your video. The stuff about Pokemon Home. I recently went onto it just a couple weeks ago, and I noticed that my Pokemon weren't deleted after I hadn't subscribed to it for a long time. So just a little correction for that part of the video. And, like, their tone was completely respectful. There was nothing wrong with it. They weren't trying to, like, come at my throat or anything. They seemed like a completely respectable kind of person that was trying to genuinely correct me. But the video has been out for like 4 years now. Over 1 million people have seen it. How can you assume that you're the first person that's told me this? People tell me this like 2 or 3 times a week for the past several years now. It's like, I get it. I've corrected it in the pinned comment of the video itself. I've corrected it in every single video essay I've made since. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anything that's done on the past and the internet is always going to be counted as the present. Anyway, that's just another little bit of frustration that the conversation here somehow got to, and I wanted to express because I've been getting frustrated with it lately. Can I go under this? Oh, I can go under it while carrying a thing. I thought it was going to be some puzzle to figure out how to get it through there. Yeah, biggest fear is Twitter canceling me once I released a demo game for a stupid fucking reason. I had quite a group come after me on Twitter twice, actually, for my Pokemon essays. Once was after my Pokemon Lost Its Magic essay, where there was this group of kids that came after me. Like, just a small handful. I don't even think it went into the double digits. Actually, as the months went on, it probably did go into the double digits. And the other was in regards to my latest Pokemon essay, where it was somebody with a pretty decent following that came after my throat and made like a whole thread on why my story rewrite sucks. Can I just drop down this here? Oh, I can just do that. And then it was like a whole thread of people discussing about like, man, how dare he rewrite the perfect plot of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? Man, his plot rewrite sucks. It's so bad. I'm going to assume that guy's not going to see me. And I've had a lot more comments on the actual video praising my story rewrite than bashing it, so, like, I can only assume that it wasn't half bad. I know it wasn't exactly perfect, but I tried to do my best with it. And I will stand by it definitely being better than the story that was actually in the game. I mean, you don't have to try hard to make a story that's better than what was in Scarlet and Violet, to be fair. Yeah, counter argument is BDSP. Any time spent shitting on it is time well wasted. So it doesn't matter if I repeat myself in that one. I have that same fear with some of my writing where I fear people are gonna take what I've made and go completely off the rails with how they interpret it. Yeah, like, that was a fear that I held for a long time when it came to content creation. But now that it's happened to me, where I've had people come at my throat in both small groups and large groups, and I've even gotten death threats before, the most extreme case being during one of my 24-hour cherry streams. I think it was the 24-hour cherry stream 5. I didn't actually see it myself. Like, Anima dealt with it before it became an issue. It was in the Discord server, but I heard about it afterwards. Like, when I start to experience stuff like that, it's like, okay, it still sucks, but I'm, like, starting to get desensitized to it, as sad as it is. Also, GMK appearing and redeeming time yourself out for 10 minutes. Okie doke, enjoy the 10-minute timeout, GMK. Like, I've started to get... Whoa. Oh god, what have I done? I've started to get desensitized and used to it, as bad as that sounds. Like, I'm still someone with, like, very strong social anxiety, so it'll still always bother me to a degree. Like, I'm not gonna pretend that it doesn't. Like, it definitely does. But definitely less so than it used to. Like, whenever I see it used to be when I'd see comments like, oh, here's the correction about Pokemon Home. Or, man, he repeats himself way too much in this BDSP video. I used to be like, oh, man, what have I done wrong? Like, this sucks, this is awful. Whereas nowadays, I see that kind of thing, and I'm like, oh my god, again? And I just... Can I just jump up this? How do I get up the thing? I'm so confused. And what is this stupid device? Why am I transporting Minecraft to the thing again? I don't remember. I don't even remember here. But yeah, I do wish that people did handle being on the internet a whole lot more respectfully rather than seeing mistakes or someone making something that's not perfect, or just seeing someone make something that you disagree with being like a chance to put yourself on a pedestal above them. I mean, there are those that do handle things in a respectful manner. It's not like that never happens. Like I was mentioning, the most recent Pokemon Home correction that I got, the person who commented the correction actually seemed to handle it in like a very calm and respectful manner, where it's like, hey, this is just genuinely a correction on something in the video. Like, they weren't trying to be like mean-spirited or a gotcha you or anything like that. Like, can I jump over this with the thingamabob? But it still irked me because, like, how do you assume that you're the first person to tell me this when it's been out for like 4+ years, there's 1 million+ views, and however many thousands of comments that you could have scrolled down and seen hundreds of people correcting me on at this point. So that still irks me a little bit, but I can't jump over to this rock. I'm trying so hard. But, like, the tone of their message was, like, completely respectful and just like, hey, I just genuinely noticed that this is a correction that needs to be made. I wish that more people had that kind of stance. I am genuinely so confused right now. Like, what am I missing here? I'm taking this further up. I can jump over this, and then I'm out here. Why am I out here? Is there anything in here? A further way up? I don't think there is. So yeah, anyway, I don't know how the conversation even got to this anymore, but those have been some thoughts on my head recently. And I'm gonna look really, really, really closely to make sure I didn't leave any mistakes in the Scarlet and Violet DLC video essay. Because I know that if I did, I'm gonna get relentlessly bullied for it. When I was proof watching, was it the gameplay chapter? I think it was the story chapter. There was a little annotation correction that I made about Carmen, and I accidentally misspelled her name as Carmina, or Carmina. Whatever the heck, an A at the end instead of an E. And I corrected that, and I was like, oh, thank goodness. I just saved myself from hundreds of comments correcting me on my typo. So it's very good to proof watch these things. I have no idea how to get up here. I'm starting to get, like, nearly past the point of caring. What is going on here, genuinely? How do I get up there? Combination of video essay talk, me and Guzman talking about fears of our reactions to our creations. Yeah, so I guess that's what led to that. The natural segue. So those have been some feelings I've been feeling lately. Do I... Like, those seem like they'd be movable or something, but like... Oh! Oh! It's a puzzle with the that, and then you can move them. Oh my god. So yeah, there have been a couple little things I've caught. Also, you want to hear something really silly with the Scarlet and Violet DLC essay? There's a bit where I always talk in the video essays about, like, Pokemon's mentality and stance towards, like, Pokemon. And I kind of extended that in this video essay to talk about Nintendo's classic game stance a little bit, like I have in some previous video essays. The whole frog boiling in water analogy where it gets, like, worse and worse over time, more stuff is becoming subscription services, yada yada. And there's a part where I talked about subscription services, and whoops, and as an example, I pulled up a trailer for Ubisoft Plus, and I was using that as footage to be shown on screen. Well, the first time I tried to render the full video, it wouldn't render. It froze. I woke up the following morning and it was frozen on, I shit you not, 69%. And it was just stuck there. It would not move. So something was going wrong on my timeline. There was like some sort of corrupted footage or something like that. It was the fucking Ubisoft Plus trailer is the thing that prevented me from rendering it. So I went to another source online to download YouTube videos by giving it the URL. Did that. I tried to render just that segment. Like, that's when I started rendering each of the chapters individually. Chapter 1 rendered just fine. Chapter 2 rendered just fine. Chapter 3, that's the one where it took places. So chapter 3 did not render, and it froze at like 90-something%. So I was like, okay, it's during the last segment of chapter 3. So I took just the last segment of chapter 3 and tried to render it. It didn't render. Then I started deleting clips one by one on like this 2 minutes at the end that was left until I found the clip that was breaking everything. And it was the Ubisoft Plus trailer. Like, even Ubisoft's YouTube videos don't work as intended. I was so stunned. So I downloaded it from another different website to see if that would work. And then I put that in thinking like, oh, maybe it'll encode it a little bit differently. And it still didn't render. It still crashed my video editing software. So I then pulled up the Ubisoft Plus trailer, opened OBS, and I just screen recorded it. So it was just recorded onto my own computer. Let the trailer play through, stopped the recording, saved it to that folder that I had, it put it in, and now it rendered. Like, what even? And then I put a little blurb on that segment about how this was the thing that was breaking the entire project for a time, and I had to screen record. So there's a little annotation about that in the video essay. I am glad that I was able to narrow it down. What is this, an Overwatch loot box? explosion green screen effect. It looks almost like. And the statue guys don't even get blown back or anything. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, I am glad that it took me not too long to track down the issue, because that could have taken like a really, really long time. Knowing that somewhere in 3.5 hours, here's a clip that's preventing it from rendering. At roughly the 2/3 point in.
And now?
So yeah, I was able to narrow it down to gameplay, and then the end of gameplay, and then eventually that
So
clip.
what will you do?
I thought it was a Nintendo trailer that was breaking it at first, but it turned out to be a Ubisoft trailer.
I meant when this is over.
Which I guess should be no surprise.
Was getting back to Aphrodite, but my heart broke when you told me about her spy.
You deserved the truth.
You've been a good friend. I never expected to find one here. Come find me before we launch our attack.
Okay, so episode 1 of this DLC is almost over,
Helen's almost
surely.
ready to make it stand.
Okay, beacons are
Check
lit.
back with Hecate in case she's returned.
Yeah.
And get some answers.
Beautiful shade of Jupiter out today. I'm like just a moment away from, not a moment, a sliver away from leveling up. Yeah, good old Ubisoft there, huh? No good deed. Yeah, it has to be that. Don't know why it didn't give me the option to mark this as active quest when I first unlocked it. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this.